Coming up on the Tacoma Podcast.
I truly believe in the people we have who want to be a part of our program as far as any adults trying to take over. I truly believe that you can't do this shit to make money. You got to do it because you have a passion for it. Because like I've said, man, we've been grinding for like 6 years because we wanted to go slow to go fast.
Tacoma, what's good? Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Derek Shockman. On the Tacoma Podcast, we have dope conversations with the people of the City of Destiny. We have episodes with small business owners, athletes, creators, performers, politicians, and neighbors. If you're down with Tacoma, tune in and let's get inspired. Let's go. All right, Mike, let's get it popping. Would you rather coach high school wrestling or middle school wrestling?
Oh, man. That's actually harder than it comes out to be. I would definitely say high school wrestling, though. I definitely like the competition level can be a little bit higher. It can be almost a little more serious, right?
Yeah.
Plus, the other piece to it is in most middle school leagues, like if you got a kid, I love middle school because there's a ton of growth that happens, right? That's where a lot of kids fall in love with the sport.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you have a really good kid, like a stud in middle school,
yeah,
like they're not getting any better most of the time. They're just dominating their way through it. So it's nice because at high school level, very rarely is there a stud that can't find good competition in the state, at least, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Kind of like in junior high when we just smack people in football and shit.
Yeah. Mercy ruling people.
Yep. All right, guys. So we have Mike Andrews with me. He's a high school teacher and high school coach. Mike, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Mike Andrews. I'm a father and a husband. I also teach middle school inclusive education and language arts. I've coached high school and middle school sports in the South Sound area for 15 years. This would be my 16th year I'm heading into. And I'm also a founder of BAB Athletics.
Nice. We'll definitely get into BAB in a little bit. I'm really curious though, like what's it been like coaching during this pandemic? You know, I don't really know. Have the league's been going on? What's going on with these kids?
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy right now, like with everything in 2020 and the start of 2021, really. So my district currently doesn't allow us to do any type of coaching with the kids right now. So our role has mostly been virtual meetings, linking up with the kids. And I actually resigned my coaching position at the high school last year. So I'm going to focus more on the BAB side of things and supporting programs and communities that way. But I'm still really involved with the team and helping out and filling in. So we do like monthly meetings, virtual meetings with the kids. And our biggest thing is helping them with some mental preparation. There's not a lot of information and clarity about what it's actually going to look like. But if we get a season, having them mentally prepared to be ready for a season, give them different ways to stay in shape. But then also the biggest one right now is we're doing a lot of academic support with our kids, checking in on their assignments, making sure they're not falling behind in classes. Because the one thing we don't want is to be able to have a season and we're not eligible because for whatever reason, people have been taking it, not as serious.
Totally. Yep.
Go ahead. No, you're good.
I was just curious, like how are the kids' mindsets? Like, how are they handling all this?
They're good. They're definitely anxious, right? They want to get out there. Yeah. They want to compete. They want to battle. That's what they like to do. But at the same time, they're also anxious about like, well, what does this season look like? Like, we got a lot of multiple sport athletes that I work with, and they're kind of anxious about, am I going to have to pick between playing football and basketball or football and wrestling or wrestling and track? Like, do I got to make that choice? And then you also got some of the kids who are just anxious about what does it look like? Is it going to be safe for me? Is it something that I feel comfortable with, however we're doing it? Yeah. I know it's really been on the districts too, kind of to do their own thing. So, for example, I know Tacoma School District, they just voted earlier in the week, I think it was Tuesday, and they are going to be resuming small group instruction with their athletes. So they're kind of taking that next step. To do small group stuff outside. So mostly conditioning and different things like that with their athletes. And I think they're starting that up this next week here. And then I also heard that Auburn schools was voting. They may have voted yesterday. So I don't know what that outcome was like, but it's slowly coming along. To individual programs and districts are doing the best they can to try to make it happen.
Definitely. It sounds like there's some movement there. So like you're mentioning these districts, what's the WIA doing basically? And what's their plan? Do you know?
Yeah. So this plan, there's been a lot of proposed plans rolled out since this whole thing's kind of started, and actually we just got a new set of guidelines that kind of rolled out this week. So with as fluid as it is, by the time we even this airs, it's probably going to be completely different than what I'm telling you right now. But, as far as this minute goes, they've given the okay for football and like traditional fall sports to start on February 1st.
Okay.
And then high school coaches have a non-coaching period throughout the year where they're not allowed to run organized activities for their teams.
Okay.
And basically they've basically kind of let that go by so we can interact with our teams a little more during this time. And they're running that up right up until the start of that season. And then looking at second and third season, so that they've gone back to a 3-season model for high school. One of the initial plans was a 4-sport model, similar to what a lot of middle schools and junior highs run.
Yeah.
A 4-sport season to try to space it out. But with continued closures, it's changed back up to 3 seasons. So they've decided they're going to be flexible with seasons 2 and 3. And what it sounds like a lot of people are kind of in favor of and hoping for is that maybe that second season, 8-week seasons we're looking at for each. So that second 8-week season may actually be the traditional spring sports. Okay. And that's for 2 reasons. From the get-go, WIA has been pretty straightforward on the fact that they want to make sure that the spring sports get a season because they are the one sport group of sports that didn't have a season at all last year.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I mean, I know winter sports. So like winter sports, wrestling, we were able to finish. We were able to have our state tournament. I think basketball got cut short. They didn't get to finish their postseason last year.
Yeah.
And then winter sports was non-existent last year, or spring sports.
Yeah.
So they want to guarantee to get those sports in. So they're considering doing traditional spring sports in season 2, which would actually fall right when it's starting to get springtime and get some of that. And then the other piece of that is moving the winter sports, which would be your basketball, wrestling, I think dance and cheer competing there.
Okay.
And those are all indoor sports. So they're considered the higher risk sports. So from some of the rumblings and rumors of it I've heard is they want to try to move that to the 3rd season to give more time for things to get in place, more time for the COVID stuff to try to handle itself so that we are cleared to play, because those sports are going to be the last ones that are able to go anyways due to the high risk label they carry. So if we push it off later, there's a greater chance that they can have a season.
Makes sense. No, you're good. I was just curious. You mentioned that 8-week season. So is that like one game a week, or like how's that look like basically? So
again, that's a lot of that is crazy. So the other thing that WIA is doing is they're also allowing individual leagues to propose their own schedule and their own timeline to compete. So for example, we got, in this area, we have the SPSL and then the multiple divisions of the NPSL. Covers a lot of what we got going on here. So those leagues could come up, they could get their teams together, their schools together, and they may say, hey, we want to hold our football season later in the spring, or we want to hold, track first. And they can put together their schedule, give a proposal to the WIAA and get it approved and run things that way. So again, there's general guidelines. It's really flexible. And at the same time, they're allowing a lot of decisions to be made within the actual districts itself.
Yeah, that's good though, I feel like, because every situation is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, right. And again, I don't think at this point there's any way to really mitigate the idea of kids are going to probably have to choose at some point. Yeah. Even if you think about not a dual sport athlete in high school, but if they have spring basketball, right? We decided to do late spring. So we're talking like May and June for traditional winter sports. That would be your wrestling and basketball type stuff. That's the time of year where a lot of kids are traveling AAU.
Yeah.
That's the time of the year when a lot of the big national tournaments are going on for freestyle and Greco wrestling and stuff. So you may have kids who have to make that decision. Like, hey, I am a one sport athlete, but am I going to get more value out of competing with my high school team, which I love to do, which I want to do. I want to represent my school, or get more exposure and probably more games in with the AAU team.
Yeah. Definitely.
A lot up in the air right now. It's pretty, I mean, coaches, it's a little frustrating as a coach too, because our kids want answers. They look to us for guidance and answers. And really, we have the same information that's available to everybody else right now, because so much stuff is going on within the individual districts, just trying to even get classes started back up and in-person instruction, let alone trying to make sports work out on top of that. So it's a busy time right now for administrators around the South Sound area. That's for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, there's no playbook for this. There wasn't a playbook for this, so it's all new to everybody. Speaking of like the, like the high school athlete that's like maybe getting recruited like by colleges and whatnot, how's that looking? And like, have you heard anything or any stories on like how kids are feeling about that? Because I mean, missing a whole season or like having a shorter season, that's tough.
Yeah. So, the straightforward answer right now is, it's non-existent really. And actually that's in twofold. One of them is because there's not a lot of sports going on, but also because the NCAA is on a dead period right now where they can't contact recruits. They can't talk to people. Towards last year, as our season started, before things really started getting shut down, I'm regularly in contact with different coaches at the college level for potential recruits in the South Sound area, different people I've worked with. I try to reach out and help them reach their goals if competing in college athletics is what they want to do. So I regularly talk with different college coaches throughout the area. And the NCAA regularly has a dead period too. Their recruiters can't just do whatever they want. They have strict sets of rules. And the dead period is a normal thing. The difference with this time is the dead period's been extended like 2 or 3 times. Yeah. So coaches who want to talk to these kids, they're not allowed to right now. So, when we see that dead period finally lifted, we're going to find out which college programs have the best recruiting, really, because if you think about it, in 2 to 3 years is when we would see this group of seniors start to shine on the college level, right? Yeah. Give them time to adjust to that college life in general and being a college athlete, balancing all that. But, you're really going to get to see it. So here's the big challenge that I see personally, right? And I'm not a college recruiter by any means, but I got a decent idea of how this is going to go. So imagine, let's take that basketball example we were talking about with a canceled championship. Okay. Last year, you could have a kid who was a sophomore, right? And most of the recruiting on a high school level is going to be, you're going to start to get noticed during playoff time, during the state tournament in basketball, right? Yeah. So maybe you're one of those kids who, as a sophomore, maybe a recruit's coming to the game for something else, checking out other people, but you draw that eye, right? Yeah. Like good recruiters know, good coaches in general, like when you're walking your halls in the high school as a coach, like you find a kid, you're like, man, there's something there, right? Yeah. Maybe they got in with the basketball situation. Maybe that sophomore year playoff run is like, hey, they're not the main player. Maybe they're the 6th man or a 3rd option at this point. Yeah. But they're hitting big shots, right? They're not backing down from the all-state players. They're going at it like this is somebody we want to keep an eye on. They didn't have that opportunity to get that exposure. Right. Yeah. And then recruiters already have that kid on their list. So their junior year might be their breakout year where more schools start making the offers, more schools start giving them attention. But if you were already on them early, right. So now more competition's coming for that kid. And then their senior years when they're going to make their choice and do all that. But if you don't have that on the radar year, right? So nobody's got this kid on their radar yet. A kid who could be potentially even a small D1 prospect, a D2 type prospect kid, right? Yeah. The basketball scene, when you got guys going to the blue blood programs like Duke and Kansas, those kids are already known as a sophomore, right? I'm talking specifically more kind of the kids who I like to work with the most are those kind of under the radar type recruits who can do some big things. So they miss out on that year. They miss out on their breakout year. And then next year as a senior, all of a sudden you're going to see kids lighten it up, right? Who have been putting in work, who probably would have already had a handful of smaller school offers by now. But because they weren't able to show that and get scouts' attentions, it's going to be a blemish. That's why I say I think, we're going to find out how many of these recruiters in college can put in the work and find some of these diamonds in a rough and really take – it's a calendar year, but it's a year and a half of sports competition for these kids. and figure out, hey, who's just off to a hot start, or hey, who's really onto something, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It starts off, again, I'm not a college recruiter, but I imagine the process, hey, this kid catches my eye. So now that junior year, your first week of playing 4 or 5 games, maybe 10 games, I'm going to go back and check your stats. Like, hey, they're putting up numbers like we thought they potentially could. Let's go watch them in person now.
Yeah.
So, and that's a process of over that year and a half of competition, right? Now, what they're going to have to deal with is the stats are jumping off. Okay, is this kid somebody we think could be somebody special? Because they weren't on my radar before. So now I have to decide who could possibly be a good recruit. Then I'm checking, okay, does that performance that they're putting up right now stay consistent throughout the year? Yeah. By that time, you're going to be at the senior year of their playoffs already.
Yeah,
right?
True. Yeah.
When you would have had this taken care of. So then, that's really what I think is going to be interesting with a lot of these recruiters. They're definitely going to be making their money when this dead period is lifted. That's for sure. Yeah, definitely, man. That's really good info and interesting. Just, I don't know. Yeah, it's just crazy to me. So, all of it's crazy. And I'm like fascinated by it. The kids are kind of worried about it, concerned about it a little bit, but at the same time, we try to just keep them with a level head of, hey, everybody's in the same position. We're all kind of in a holding pattern, at least in our state. I know other states have opened up and done some other stuff, but it's definitely going to be interesting. I think high school coaches and high school athletic directors are really going to have a game plan about this, about kids who could potentially be recruited athletes to college, and being very intentional of helping reach out and make some connections during this time to get them that opportunity. Definitely. So switching gears just a little bit here. I know you started BAB. Can you let the Tacomans know what that's about? Yeah. So BAB Athletics is an organization I get to be a part of. And what we do is we really kind of have two sides to it that work together. The first side is looking at putting on training opportunities for middle school and high school athletes. That's what we target. For me, coaching at the high school level and teaching at a middle school level, I have a lot of connections throughout the South Sound in those grade areas. I also think the middle school area is a really important area to target. So we kind of focus on that range. And what we do is we offer completely free of charge training for them. Nice. So we've had a BAB wrestling club going for a couple of years now. That's, that's something that wrestling's my thing. That's where I go to. So that's where my ties are. That's where most of my connections are. So it's easiest to get the start there. That's what I'm passionate about most. And then with the athletics also is looking at putting on camps and clinics free of charge for kids. Cool. So wrestling, and then also expanding out to other sports as well. So the training aspect is one, giving kids who might not actually have the opportunity on their own, an opportunity to get in and get some good level training in. The second piece is to BAB, which is actually probably the part that I'm even more passionate about than even the athletic piece, is the community engagement that we do. Okay. So we put on a couple different community engagement events a year. Just to try to do really good things in the community. That's what it really boils down to. One of our biggest ones is for the past, I don't even know how many years we've done it now, is we take on some families for a holiday drive in the South Sound area. Cool. And again, being the fact that I'm connected to a lot of schools and coaches in a lot of schools around the area, a lot of schools kind of do some of this stuff on their own to support families and students in their area. So it's easy for me to reach out to the different schools and say, hey, I got a group who's willing to take on some families. Can we help you guys out? Can we get some donations for you? So last year, for example, we were able to take on 7 different families through the South Sound, averaging 4 to 6 people in the family, and give them a full kind of holiday experience. I know you and Leanne have taken on a family with us before. Yeah. A lot of, friends and family have gone on. So last year we were able to do that. And on top of that, we also went around and delivered over 70 meals to homeless and in the Tacoma and South Sound area. And literally we packed up, we do spaghetti dinner. So people have donated either sauce and noodles and stuff like that, or they'll do cash donations sometimes, and then we'll go pick up the supplies. And last year, I think we ended up making we made 100 meals and we individually passed out over 70, and then we lost count, and the rest we dropped off at a shelter to for them to make use of spaghetti dinners across the area.
Cool.
So doing things like that. And we did that last year, able to partner with Three Little Birds Youth and Family Services, which is actually my wife's business. So that was pretty easy, you know. And then I think last year, Dan Performance also helped out and spread the word on social media to try to do some of that. Obviously with COVID this year, that thing looked completely different. Yeah. But we were able to, it was pretty cool because, you know, just the ability to make things happen even when it's not ideal. So we would have loved to be able to do a big adopt a family thing again, pass out 100 meals this year if we could have. But just with everything going on, we weren't able to do that. So we noticed that Espresso Yourself, little coffee shop in First Crest. Yeah, that's my coffee shop. They were doing a Fill the Lobby campaign. So they were trying to fill their lobby with the canned goods and different things like that. And they were paired up with a local, I think, a food bank. And they ended up, at the end of it, they ended up delivering, I think, 2 tons of food to the food bank through their drive. So what we did is one day I was in there and I just asked them, put a couple posts up on social media real quick, reached out to people who typically help us with that. And we went to the store, got some donations, went to the store, loaded up the Yukon with a whole bunch of food, and we're able to drop it off there and at least do something, right?
Totally.
Do something to give back. It's not as much as we would have liked to do. Obviously, wish we could have done more, but you know, putting on things to help the community is another big part of what we do there.
That's dope, man. You know what's funny? That's I was reading an article by the South Sound Business Journal the other day, and Tacoma's actually ranked the number 9th most generous city in the nation, which is pretty crazy. And I have a solo episode coming up shortly about that as well. But that just proves the point right here that, you know, we're a generous community. You guys are doing what you can to help out. And you know, speaking of helping out, is there any way that people can get involved? You mentioned a lot about giving, but what about like maybe on the athletic side? Are you looking to like, you know, do you take volunteers or how's that look?
Yeah. So actually one of the coolest things about the program that we've noticed, so we've been up and running for about 6 years now in some way or another, a little longer than that in some form or other. And kids we have who have come through and allowed us to be a part of their training and allowed us to be a part of their athletic experience are regularly contacting me to come back and help out. I have a whole bunch of kids right now who say, hey, our sport's happening. What kind of like coaching opportunities? They want to get back to middle schools and help out, especially in the wrestling community. There's, you know, filling a wrestling coaching position isn't the easiest thing to do. So it's pretty cool to see a new group of kids who we feel like we've tried to instill doing things the right way in, you know, good morals as a coach and actually help plug some of them into coaching. The other thing is a big thing we do is with like some of the camps we try to put on and stuff like that. We've been in contact with other programs and other people around the area to come help out. So we get people to volunteer to run a clinic or run a portion of a clinic, or maybe we have, you know, 3 or 4 people taking a day each of a clinic, different stuff like that. But yeah, if anybody's interested in helping out in any way, definitely feel free to reach out to us and contact us. At the same time, you know, we have a set of values that we like to instill, and we want to make sure that anybody who we are engaging with, teaming up with, bringing into the fold, you got to match those values.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? That's like a lot of the stuff behind it, and you know why we got started and all this stuff goes a lot deeper, and it means something to us. So we want to make sure that whoever wants to be involved and whoever wants to bring in understands that and is going to mirror that and have those same values.
For sure. Hey, speaking of that, Mike, what was your why to start BAB, man? Like, what was the main reason? So we started BAB by not starting BAB. That's how shit happens usually.
Yeah, you know, so BAB Athletics actually started. That's why I said we've been doing this for about 6 years or whatever, because we haven't always been BAB Athletics. We actually started as BAB Wrestling Club. Okay. Again, I'm big in wrestling. I know a lot of people in the wrestling community, and I was coaching out in Kent with Jeremy Williams at the time. Okay. And I can remember it as smooth as day. Like we were sitting down one day about 6 years ago. So the first group of kids who were able to kind of come through BAB and experience it as a middle schooler and high schooler throughout, they are kind of, they're all like sophomores in college right now. Okay. So that was our first wave of kids who fully got to experience the whole thing. Yeah. But the main thing was we're sitting there, Kent Lake High School, we were sitting there in between Tacoma High School, who's a state powerhouse in wrestling, regularly on the podium, consistent top 10 in the state, recent state championships, all that stuff. And then we also have Kentwood High School on the other side of us, who's kind of nationally recognized, through their academics and football programs and different things. And one thing we found out about our population, especially, is like, we have to, if we want to be able to compete at this higher level, we're both really competitive, right? And we had a group of kids who wanted to be competitive, who were getting ready to come into our middle school programs. And we said, we got to give them the opportunity. We're never going to be able to compete at a decent level. We're never going to be able to go place at state. These kids aren't going to be able to go place at state if we can't find them opportunities. Okay. And we found two things that really held that up with our population. The first one was travel means. So different wrestling clubs and stuff that were in the area, our kids didn't have access to travel to get there. Even just going from Covington to Maple Valley or Covington to, to Auburn or some other areas like that. It would literally be, we would have to give them a ride, sit with them, practice, take them home. Like we were helping with a lot of the transportation pieces back then. And the other piece to it was a financial piece. Even the smaller fees that some clubs have, just maintenance, regular, nothing crazy, just a regular fee. Like a lot of our kids really couldn't come up with, they didn't have that.
Hey, man. Yeah.
So we decided, well, why don't we just get our own room? Why don't we just do it so our kids can be here? Instead of me going from leaving Tacoma, driving out to Kent, Covington, picking up kids to go to a practice in Auburn, to drive them back to Kent, Covington area, to pass Auburn High School, to go back to my house in Tacoma. That's taken a long time. That's taken 4 or 5 hours out of my day, which is, again, we made the decision to do that to try to improve our program in general. But then, we wanted to say, how can we make this best for the kids? So we started our own club out of there, started really small. I think we started the wrestling club with only high school kids the first year. And then the second year we opened it up to middle school kids. And what we really decided was our kids who want to really compete at that level, we need to get them with the best kids in the area. So we opened it up and we had kids coming from all over the area, the Kent schools. We had kids from Federal Way School District coming out, Todd Beamer, Decatur. We had kids from Renton High School coming out. We had kids from Curtis High School. A couple of them came out with us. I got some ties there too. So, some of the kids I've worked with in the past would come out and get a workout in with us. And we really just brought together as many tough, like-minded kids as we could to try to get work in. I remember one time our first year, we only had like 13 people in the wrestling room. And I stopped practice because we were looking around and I said, hey, raise your hand real quick if you've competed at the state tournament. And out of those 13 kids or whatever we had, 11 of them had wrestled at the state tournament. Yeah. And I kind of said, hey, guys, you guys realize none of us have this in our high school rooms. Like, you're not going to find a room. It may be small. It doesn't seem like, we got big stuff going on because you're used to a high school room with anywhere to 35 to 65 kids in a lot of programs, Yeah. I said, but look at the quality we have. Even in a room with 65 kids, it's hard to find 11 kids who have gone to state into 4A level, and from day one, we kind of just told them, hey, if we want to be able to compete with these better programs, we gotta compete against the best right here. So we just got a lot of local area people together, started working, and then kind of grew it from there. And that's the wrestling side of things. So then after doing that for a couple of years, I talked with Jeremy. I said, man, I'd really like to expand this. I'd really like to be able to make this open to more people. I got some good connections in the basketball community around the area. And other sports as well. I said, I'd really like to kind of build this into something we can do even bigger with and still keep that same idea of, man, we're here to do it for the kids and give them opportunities and do good things in the community. So I kind of took off with BAB Athletics, opened it up a little bit so that we could expand and try to give support and training opportunities in other areas than just the wrestling, which we were passionate about.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's dope. Speaking of that, kind of that expansion, what are your future plans for BAB?
So right now, I mean, first and foremost, I mean, we really depend on being able to have access to buildings to hold practices and camps and different things like that.
Yeah.
And that's just not happening. So we're in a holding pattern. You know, we're trying to get, once the access opens back up to that, we're going to look at hopefully having the wrestling club going again. That's been established. So getting practices in for those kids.
Yeah.
Looking at opening up for the summer, again, doing our summer camps. We want to try to do a couple camps. I was actually already in the process last year before all this hit us and started working on putting together a basketball camp in the area for people. And Jordan Dam over at Dam Performance, he does the cryotherapy and recovery now, but before that he was focusing mostly on his basketball skills training. And we were already in talks to have him be one of our clinicians. I talked to a lot of other players who have played overseas, college and different things like that with a coaching background and a skills training background in the area. So we were already kind of in the motions of getting that going on. So I would really love, once things are back to open up, to be able to throw a wrestling camp, basketball camp, and then dance is another area. My wife's been a choreographer, been paid choreographer for years now, helped out with the awesome Dance Blast production over at Curtis High School. If you guys have ever seen that, it's pretty awesome if you're a fan of dance. So she's been an alumni choreographer there for a couple years now. Yeah. So, just kind of expanding it that way. And then if we're talking big picture, ideally it'd be awesome if we could get our own space eventually. But at the same time, I'm not about rushing into anything and doing something halfway. Totally. I think the kids we work with deserve more than that. I think we deserve to give full effort in what we're doing. And if we can't do it right, I'm not just going to push it through that quick, if that makes sense,
Oh, totally, man. Speaking of Jordan, over at Dan Performance, definitely going to have to get him on the show as well. But nice. Man, this has been a lot of good info, bro. And I'm just curious, do you have anything else that you would like to share with the people?
Yeah, just a couple things just about our program and stuff in general. If you are interested, again, in either taking part when we're able to finally get, camps and training sessions and stuff going back up again, definitely reach out. But if you want to be even more involved, again, we want to make sure it's the right fit for everybody involved. But do your part and come back. I know, making the decision on how we want to move going forward for ourselves as far as, organization wise, how can we best reach the goals we can and fundraise the way we can while giving all of that back to the program itself. Cause we've never, any of the coaches or adults involved with BAB, we've never taken anything, that's something that we're really passionate about and keeping the focus on the kids. Cool. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, we'd be a program for you to look at. We really try to shine as the background and let the kids do the work. Cause here's the thing that you see a lot. And I know you've even coached after you were in college and stuff, you did a year of coaching in high school. Play, man. Hey, well, for you, not when you suck at your sport like I did. And I knew how to do it. I just physically couldn't, right? For me, it might not be as hard. I'm a way better coach than I was athlete, but but no. So the thing is, man, even in just the couple years you did it, you probably noticed, this is one of my biggest pet peeves in athletics in general, specifically when we're talking middle school and high school, is that a lot of times, for whatever, I'm not even putting fault anywhere, but a lot of times you have a club or AAU coach telling a kid, well, you need to do it this way, or you should be with us, or the high school coach saying the middle school coach doesn't know how to do something, or the middle school coach saying, well, they were good until they went to the high school. And now this guy, and there's a lot of competing. And really what it boils down to, in my personal opinion, it's a lot of people competing for credit that isn't theirs in the first place. Yeah. People want to claim the success of athletes and success of kids. When the bottom line is, if you could be the best coach in the world, right? We could go hire Nick Saban and Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll to run a staff down at Steilacoom High School football program, right? And if they have the best staff, the best X's and O's, the best game plan ever, but your kids don't put in the work and your kid don't buy into it, it doesn't really matter. So that's kind of how we always view the thing, is keep the spotlight on the kids. They do it. You'll notice I was actually kind of uncomfortable when you were asking me, like, for my intro, how do you what's your title there? Because I'll drop some of our links and social media stuff later. Definitely. But you won't see any adult names anywhere on that stuff. Everything is BAB. Everything is we. Even when I signed into this meeting, it says BAB Athletics because I don't want my name to be involved with it really. As weird as that sounds, like it's something I'm passionate about, but it's not something that I want to be. I don't want people to talk about the adults. I want people to talk about the kids who are putting in the work and making sure they're getting the attention and the shine that they deserve. And then either helping them get to a college athlete level or some of it, man, we have a lot of kids who we help, just navigate life in general and get to trade schools, get to other kind of programs and be successful. And then, they're coming back around and helping us out and trying to donate their time back and being part of what we got going on. So, that's really the main thing. That's what we're passionate about. That's what we wanted to do. And at the same time, back to kind of that claiming the success of kids, we've done it in a way that I think when people join our program, there's anytime you go to a training thing as an athlete or as a coach, your athletes go somewhere else, right? I feel like sometimes there's that in the back of their mind. There's a lot of, well, are they going to basically be scouting or recruiting my kid the whole time? Where's the best interest really? And that's a question I would highly ask all parents to sit down one day and think hard and be extra critical about, right? Maybe even over the top, picking it apart to the smallest level, but like notice the small things. We got coaches and mentors. Are they there for your kid, or is the way they're wording things bringing attention to them? There's a difference between like, hey, you got to check out one of my guys. He's really good, and being like, oh, that's my guy. Yeah. Right. That's my guy. Right. I'm here. He works at my program. He works at my school. I can't stand that.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense.
So like we've had, and like I said, like with the wrestling, we've had so many other coaches come in and help out, and we let other coaches run. We've had other coaches come in with guys from their team, and we're like, hey, you want to run practice? You want to show some technique? Cool, let's do it. It's going to make our kids better. Yeah. Tevin Tillman out at Decatur, head wrestling coach out at Decatur. I think he's an assistant football coach too. We've paired up a lot of stuff. It was pretty cool. We were able to get some kids from our school. Some of our actual college athletes right now joined a Zoom call with us earlier in the year, as well as some kids from Kennedy Catholic, and Coach Bobby Brokenshire out there hooked us up with some kids, and we were able to get Bryce Meredith on a Zoom call. Cool. A lot of people probably don't know who Bryce Meredith is. He's currently, he's current again, man. My wrestling world is, I know it's not a common world for a lot of people, but he was a 2-time NCAA finalist out of the University of Wyoming. I believe he's qualified for the Olympic trials at 65 kilograms. And he's actually right now transitioning into full-time MMA. But I would actually encourage, hey, any coaches out there, whether it's wrestling, anything like that, you can find Bryce Meredith on Instagram. Just the way he talked mindset with our kids. Like I loved having him be able to come in and we stayed on with the kids afterwards, and we talked to the college guys who are at North Idaho College right now. We got a wrestler, a few over there. Cool. And we stayed on afterwards and talked with the high school because they just like the mindset pieces. So most of what he talked about was nothing wrestling specific. I would highly encourage you. Like he worked with us. He was fair. He wasn't trying to make money off it. Like he does it because he really likes it. It matched with what we talk about. Totally. The one thing I would say, I'm getting a little long-winded now. I apologize.
You're good. We'll be wrapping it up soon, man.
So like I guess the last thing I would say is if you're passionate about something, you're looking to start an organization, or maybe you want to go the nonprofit route or whatever it may be. There's just a couple things you can. First off, like I would say, do your research. Like, it's not hard to do a quick Google search and find out what steps you need to incorporate as a nonprofit, or what steps do you need to do to be able to officially fundraise, right, and host fundraising events. Totally. The other piece to it is, like hook up with somebody smarter than you. Like I don't know how to do everything. Like I wouldn't. When I'm sick, I don't just try to guess on my own. I'm going to go see a doctor eventually, right? Like if it gets bad, I don't know how to solve it. I need to go to somebody smarter than me. Same thing here. Yeah. And being smarter than me in this area doesn't necessarily mean you're smarter than me at everything, but that's your expertise. Go see an expert. Go have a quick check-in with, somebody who works in that nonprofit law or something like that. There's a lot of avenues you can go to figure out how to best launch some of your thing. But the number one thing, man, I'm telling you, and me personally, this is the most important thing really is, man, you don't do this shit to get rich. Don't do this shit to try to, can I say shit? My bad.
No, you.
Am I good? Okay, yeah.
I mean, I dropped the shit earlier, man.
Okay, yeah.
Not like a shit, but you know what I mean.
I truly believe in the people we have who want to be a part of our program. As far as any adults trying to take over, I truly believe that you can't do this shit to make money. You got to do it because you have a passion for it. Because like I've said, man, we've been grinding for like 6 years because we wanted to go slow to go fast and have a good product, right?
Yeah.
Have a good environment. And it was easiest because we had the most connections and the most means in the wrestling community. That's where most of my ties were in at that time. So that's why we started there, and we built it to where now, we got a lot more than 11 kids in the room on a regular basis when we were practicing.
Totally.
But yeah, like you gotta be willing to do it because you want to do it for the right reasons, especially this kind of thing. Like, man, focus on what it's for. Don't focus on trying to have the spotlight in it, and just do it because you love it and you're passionate about it. And that's one thing too, like, man, I think it's so cool. I got 4 kids, right? And ages 10 down to 18 months right now. And like anytime we do the holiday and we go pass out the meals to the homeless, we've had, different athletes come and help us from time to time. We've had family and friends come help us from time to time, pass out those meals. But like the one group of people who have never missed helping us pass out have been my kids. And they see it and they like it. Like they want to do good things. They're not focused on the other reasons. A lot of our athletes who are part of that group that I said got kind of the full experience and were part of BAB for their 6 years between middle school and high school. And even now, a lot of them come back and train with us if they're home from college and different things like that. Like my kids have a relationship with a lot of them. They'll stop by. We get together once a year and just touch base, make sure everybody's doing good. They'll text me on holidays, see how the kids are doing, all those kind of things. Yeah. So, being able to have my kids also see, and my wife, Rashina, she does a lot of the same stuff with whether it's her 3 Little Birds family therapy, her dance movement flow class that she does, or her chalk and bubbles. I'm just shouting out everything right now. That's not the intent, but I'm saying like they see us, in whatever we're doing. We are very like-minded in that, in the fact that we're not really worried about a lot of other stuff other than like, I want to do this because I want to try to help it.
Dude, yeah, man. I just love that because like people have been asking me like why I started the Tacoma Podcast, right? And the reason I started the Tacoma Podcast is to share stories like yours, small business owners, creators, whoever it may be. And that's why, man, just to have a bit bigger impact on Tacoma than just being a real estate agent, for real.
Yeah.
Like what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, so take it from, I feel like people can easily make this connection when you turn it to sports and you turn it to a coaching environment, right? But if you have a coach who's going over the top and investing, right, and helping a kid get some equipment or helping a kid do more, right? Even if that kid doesn't end up completely buying in, I think most coaches leave there knowing that their intentions and their impact were good, right? I can only control my intentions. I can't control my impact of what they do after I give them that. That's all on the kid buying in and whatnot. And from a coaching standpoint, it's easy for people to see that. But I think really what we want to try to do and what we try to show the kids is like, hey, a lot of this stuff, we talk about sports give you a life lesson all the time. But we want to try to mimic that and live it. So now watch my intentions. I have good intentions. We're passing out stuff to different people. I'm sure at some point somebody's taking a meal who maybe didn't need it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point some of the donations, whether it be monetary or something else, or a scholarship that we give out scholarships to athletic camps too, to let kids try to participate that way. I'm sure at some point somebody along the way is taking advantage of it. But that's not really an impact on me, right? That's not really a picture of me. I'm still doing the right thing. We're still trying to do the right things. And It's like we would building. In order to build, I talked about our goal was to build our individual wrestling program at first, right? Yeah. And the only way to do that was to get some of the best people in the area and bring people together and work to challenge ourselves and do better. And that's the exact same thing just in the community in general, right? Yeah. We get together, we can do a lot of the stuff and a lot of the scholarships we've been able to give out, a lot of the meals, it's been people like you and Leanne, it's been friends and family and other people in Tacoma who just want to make the community better as a whole, right? Yeah. By making the wrestling program at Kent Lake better, that forces other programs in the area to be better.
Yeah,
right. When Kentwood gets better on the mats, and we're looking to continue to be competitive, right, it's going to make us better. Trickle down effect all across the board. If you really want to compete with the high level things, you got to do that. Well, I mean, I can look at that. If I want to live a high level life, I got to keep doing that too on the outside. So.
For sure, man. For sure. Dude, I really enjoyed this convo. We have a lot of conversations as we're good friends, but this has been a learning experience for me. I've learned a lot about BAB and a lot about what's going on with high school athletics, and I appreciate you coming on. But if anybody wants to get involved with BAB or has questions regarding like starting an organization like yours, where can we find you? Yeah.
So first and foremost, probably the social media place where you're going to see the most would be our Facebook page.
Okay.
So if you go search BAB Athletics on Facebook, you'll see us. It's a pretty straightforward symbol. It's gray writing that says BAB Athletics, and we got a little beast hand coming up. That's what BAB is, be a beast. That name kind of came from, the sports. I mean, sports, that's a pretty common, bro. Hey, he's a beast right now. He's killing, you know what I mean? Yeah, and then at the same time, think back 6-7 years ago, whenever it was, we really got started. Beast mode was that dude, right?
Yeah.
And we wanted, and that was the other thing is we wanted that edge too. So we wanted to name it. We were very intentional just picking a name.
Yeah.
And like, I want some of that Marshawn Lynch where, hey, I might have to rein you back a little bit, but we're not going to be scared to go compete sort of thing.
Yeah.
But Facebook, BAB Athletics, you'll see a lot. We got different videos posted there of guys training, some different things like that. We also have, I try to just share good, positive stuff going on with either South Sound alumni or South Sound current athletes. So we'll share a lot of stories, spread good information on what's going on with South Sound schools and kids and alumni sort of stuff. We also have brand new, I don't even think I started following you yet. I'm late to the game, but we just popped up a BAB Instagram finally.
Oh, nice.
So we'll start linking up content there. And on Instagram, you'll get us at b.a.b.athletics.
Cool.
So it's BAB with a dot after each one of those. But then if you just want to reach out and see how you can get involved and really contact us, send us an email at babathletics253@gmail.com.
Cool.
And
I'll put all this in the show notes, man.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Cool, man. Well, thanks, Mike. Stuff. And do you have anything else, man?
Nah, man. It's 11:30. We got about 2 hours, and let's go Hawks, man.
Yeah, for sure, man.
We gotta go 1-0 today, baby.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's what time is that at?
I think they play at 1:40. They got kickoff.
Cool.
So hopefully we can keep Aaron Donald.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure, man. Cool. All right, man. I'll catch you later, and I appreciate you.
It sounds good. Have a good one, man.
All right, peace. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining and taking the time to listen to the Tacoma Podcast. If you were down with this episode, I'd be super pumped if you subscribe. Also, if inclined, please drop a review and share the pod with a friend. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again. Peace.